Welcome to John Essex Sports Channel. Please do like and subscribe as we go into League One predictions for Week 16. It is, of course, an international break, so we will go to Burton first. Burton versus Blackpool. Burton in 15th, Blackpool in 21st. Didn't I say Burton were improving? Didn't I say that? You know, the FA Cup 6-0 drubbing of St Albans. We couldn't take much from that, but I was saying they have, in fact, improved quite steadily. 2-2 draw against Rotherham, and I thought, yeah, they did show a little bit of grit and ability there. And then, of course, last time out, it was Bradford 1, Burton 2. 2-0 up by 45 minutes plus 1 minute extra time. And actually, Bradford had a lot of the play here. Probably almost probably two-thirds of the possession was indeed for Bradford. And, they actually shot at goal quite a lot of the time, so they didn't really... They weren't holding back Bradford. They were attacking with it. It wasn't one of these teams that kept back and just passed it around defence and didn't do anything with it. They did something with it, but the Burton defence and the Burton goalkeeper did really, really well. Now, what Burton did here, they reduced Bradford from 15 shots to just 3 of those on target. 5 of them off target, and 7 of them blocked. And that just shows to me that Burton were just allowing them to not get a decent eye on a clear sight of goal. Indeed, there were only 1 or 2 clear-cut chances in this entire game. So Burton did really well in defence, although they did let them into that final third probably a fair amount of time. That's a bit of something that they could work on. I'm sure they will be. From Bradford's side, though, they managed to cut down Burton's overall shots, but they were doing really well shooting-wise. From 36% possession for Burton, they had 13 shots opposed to Bradford's 15, and 6 of them, half of them were on target. So, whereas Bradford's 15 shots, 3 on target. So you can see here that Burton were shooting quite regular, and a lot of them were twice as many on target. So 2-1 to Burton was probably the right result here. Burton are indeed improving. But then you got Blackpool. Now Blackpool, of course, remember, a few places below Burton. We've got Burton on win, lose, win, draw, win there. And we've got Blackpool on lose, win, draw, win. You can see how things are just starting to turn for both these teams, which I think does bode for a very interesting game. So let's have a look at Blackpool's last game, which was Blackpool 3, Cardiff City 1. And Cardiff City scored their goal on 90 plus 8 minutes. And to me, all the goals, by the way, for in this game were in the second half. Cardiff were on top here. A lot of shots. I mean, they had almost 30 shots in this game. 2/3 of the play. A third of those shots were on target. And actually, most of them were actually blocked. Most of these shots were blocked. Most of those 30 shots were blocked. So Blackpool did a very, very good job of blocking as many of those shots as they could. Just making Cardiff try and shoot a little bit too early. But 11 shots for Cardiff and only 1 in the net. They will have been bitterly disappointed here. Blackpool, though, at home, 19 shots, 9 on target. Pretty good themselves. In fact, that ratio is actually better. It's 2-1, so it's better than Cardiff's. Better than Cardiff. So Blackpool starting to really pick their position, as you can imagine. We're not just shooting, we're trying to place it. I love this idea from Blackpool. It's actually starting to work. I said it would, it is. Cardiff lost their 3-1, and Blackpool deserved every bit of it. What I would also say that Cardiff had some amazing passing in that game, and Blackpool's passing wasn't all that good. Now, if we go just quickly to have a look at the passing in the other game, Burton's was also not as good as Bradford. So we're getting two teams here, Burton versus Blackpool, who they don't really seem to be getting the best out of their passing, but they're certainly starting to do a really good job up front. That, to me, makes it a little bit even Stevens, because I'm trying to think of something that they're different at, something that one team is better than the other at, and I can't really find anything that one team's bad at, i.e. passing, that the other team can make the most of. So can Burton make the most of Blackpool's poorish passing? Can Blackpool make the most of Burton's poorish passing? I think that this is down for a draw, but I think that if one of them manages to make the most of the opposition's poor passing, then this could be a 2 or 3-0 in one of the directions. But as it is, I'm going to go Burton 2, Blackpool 2. And we'll move on to Leyton Orient versus Exeter. So, Leyton Orient versus Exeter, 19th versus 20th, and these are really, really close together in the league. In fact, if we have a quick look at them, their figures are exactly the same. Won 5, drawn 2, lost 8. These two sides are quintessentially absolutely identical. And if you look at the last 6 games for Leyton Orient, win, lose, win, 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 lose. For Exeter, it's draw, lose, win, 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 draw. Now, you can see by that, the last 4 games, it's 4 games without defeat for Exeter City. Leyton Orient, it's they had 3 in a row, and then they lost at Wycombe. So let's look at Leyton Orient's last game. Wycombe 4, Leyton Orient 1, and that was an 11th-minute penalty to equalise for Leyton Orient. Now, this was pretty even Stevens, this game. The passing was average for this league. The shot, the possession was about 50-50. They had a decent number of shots each, 13, 14, 15 shots each. However, it's the shots on target here that we want to look at. From 13, 14, 15 shots, Orient got about 4 of them on target. Wycombe Wanderers at home, 10 on target out of their 14, 15 shots. You have to you realise that Wycombe can play some damn good football and attack with really good precision. 10 shots on target, 4 in the net. They would have been absolutely amazed by that, because this, other than these shots on target, Orient didn't do too bad. They got 13 shots, 13, 14, 15 shots. 4 of them on target, 1 in the net. On another day, that would have got them at least a draw. However, Wycombe were just that little bit more, a lot more clinical at the front end. So that was the Leyton Orient game against Wycombe. Let's have a look at Exeter. Draw, lose, win, 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 draw. It's the Wigan draw, the Exeter 1, Wigan 1 that we're going to look at. And Wigan took the lead in the first half through Callum Wright on 24 minutes. And then Jaden Wareham scored for Exeter to equalise it on 53. So a goal in each half. Now, Exeter really ran riot on this one. They had almost 3/4 of the possession. And they didn't just pass it around in their back half. It was actually really good fun. You're watching them going up to look, they should have been perhaps shooting a few, probably about 50% more shots, realistically. 3/4 of the game, and yet they, possession-wise, they only actually shot 15 times, and 4 of those were on target. Now, that's actually not bad. But when you look at the result, 1-1, you're thinking, from just 26% possession, Wigan actually got 13 shots off, which is only a couple shorter than Exeter's. And 7 of those, more than half, were on target and 1 in the net. Wigan would have been thinking, we could have won this one. And Exeter would have been thinking, we should have won it. How can we control the ball, pass it around in our own half, and not shoot more often, instead of like going in and then pulling it back and then going in and pulling it back? They were keeping possession, but they were just finding a blockade coming back. That means that the Wigan side, and you can imagine it, the Wigan side's defence was actually really good, because they made sure that for that amount of possession they weren't going to get that amount of shots that they would have expected. So overall, Exeter did a good job here. That's the team we're looking at. They have been doing well. 3 wins in a row before that. The only defeat in the last 6 was Stockport County away 1-0. And Stockport have been producing some good games there. Orient, their last defeat, of course, Wycombe 4-1. Their defeat before that was Rotherham 1-0. Both of these sides played absolutely garbage on that day. Even Rotherham, for winning it, still played rubbish. So I'm thinking that here we've got 2 sides that are really, they're really good for where they are in the league. I think that Exeter probably have just it. I was going to say Orient 1, Exeter 2. And Exeter fans, I was that close to keeping it. But Orient are at home. They do well at home, and I just think that those 2 defeats are away from home, for instance. And I have to think that home side might have a little bit more nous about them. So I'm going with Orient 1, Exeter 1. So we go to Lincoln City versus Doncaster. Lincoln 6th, Doncaster 18th. Doncaster in free fall, aren't they? Lincoln City lose, win, lose, draw, lose. Not a lot about them. They played Rotherham last time out. Rotherham 3, Lincoln City 0. Rotherham, actually, they've got a few injuries coming back, but they're playing them a little bit too quick. But it's working. They aren't doing too bad. The problem with Rotherham is they're allowing the opposition to play and get possession. It was 40% possession for Rotherham, 60 to Lincoln City. 14 shots for Rotherham, 12 for Lincoln. 6 on target for Rotherham, 3 in the net. 5 on target for Lincoln, none in the net. Now that's it's really important, because the Rotherham back line is really, really good, and they're not really in the right positions from what the boss was saying after the game. So it's interesting to see that defence is doing so well, and that Lincoln City really found it quite difficult to get any decent shots on target. It's also interesting that Rotherham got some really good clear-cut chances and absolutely ran this game, and I don't think there were any problem in there was no worries about them losing it, I don't think, ever, even before the first goal on 10 minutes. So I think that bodes well for Rotherham, but it doesn't bode well for Lincoln City. They did play okay, but they never really looked like threatening. And then you look at the FA Cup before that. Salford City 1-1 away from home at Salford. Doncaster then win, lose, draw, win, lose. And this side's up and down, and it's a case of will they turn up. The last time they played Barnsley, and it was Doncaster 1, Barnsley 2. And actually I thought Doncaster here they weren't completely out of it. In fact, they were probably the better side on the whole. Almost twice as many shots. It was about 50% possession. Doncaster just edging it. But Doncaster had almost twice as many shots as Barnsley. But at the end of the day, 5 shots on target for Doncaster and 1 in the net. 4 shots for Barnsley on target, 2 in the net. Barnsley have the ability to really be clinical in front of goal. but they've just had a bit of a rough period, and here they just seem to they showed a few glimpses in the game of getting back to where they were before, a lot better than what they are now. But it's still to me quite a poor side. Doncaster, yeah, still quite a poor side, but they are showing glimpses of them getting back to their normal as well. So both of them slightly up the game in that game. So that makes it quite interesting. Lincoln City versus Doncaster. I think that the Lincoln game, the last 2 or 3 games for me are showing that Lincoln's side is just waning a little bit. It's I don't think it has anything more to do than just fatigue to me. Obviously, you do have injuries. We do have injuries around, so it could be that as well. Please do like and subscribe. Tell me down below, Lincoln fans, what is the actual problem there? Doncaster, though, will they turn up? I'm thinking that looking at the goals, you can't see more than 1 goal in this. It's just a case of which way would I go. If I had to go a direction here, I'm going to go Lincoln 0, Doncaster 1, and I'll go that direction, I think. So I do have a cold, so I keep clicking off. But it's Luton Rotherham next, and Luton in 9th, Rotherham in 12th. We've really gone up that table since we've started to put wins together. We had 5 wins in a row, then we lost against Swindon, then we drew against Burton, and last time out was a Lincoln City win, which we've just discussed. So Luton Town, lose, win, and they really have started to get the grips with League One football. That was it for me. They just didn't seem to have... They had a championship side. And it's simple as that. They are and were playing as if they were a championship side. That doesn't always work in League One. You get the ball, 3 people come across and try and tackle you. They've started to work with this, and it's started to pay dividends. Last 4 games, they're winning 1-0, 3-1, 4-3, and 0-3. So you can see how this is panning out. They're starting to score. They're starting to get some good results. 10-man Stockport County 0, 81st minute red card. I don't want to bother about that. Luton Town 3. Luton Town didn't have all the ball. In fact, slightly more possession for Stockport County, and I would have expected that at home from Stockport County. We got what we expected, and I tell you what, they actually had some decent shots and some decent chances. I suppose realistically, looking at this, it was a sort of 2-1 game. 3 shots on target out of 12 for Stockport, 6 on target out of 8 for Luton Town. This was showing that they can actually be quite clinical up front and not just shoot it, because that's one of the things they have been in as well, is just trying to get to the end and just not quite getting it on target when it should be at least on target. And I think that 3-0, perhaps a little bit overdoing it. The passing wasn't brilliant by either side, so where do you have to think about that? Realistically, neither really tested each other with the passing, but they did some good possession football. So, and then we look at Rotherham. Well, 5 wins in a row, a lose and a defeat to Swindon, and a draw to Burton, and then a win last time out to Lincoln City. Like we said there in the last game, Rotherham really did run this from the off, and they've started to play some damn good football. What worries me is our away form. Our away form is still ropey. We went almost 2 years within about a couple of weeks without a single win away from home until this year, this season. And you're thinking, ouch, that is some record, isn't it? So I just look at the ability for Luton to score. They can score really well, but Rotherham's defence is really, really good. But we are away from home. I think that this team is still a little bit jaded, the Rotherham one, whereas the Luton Town team is absolutely firing on all cylinders. I'm going to go with Luton 3, Rotherham 2. I'm just going to say we're going to get just inched out, probably in the last 20 minutes, and that will probably do us. And it's Port Vale Wycombe next. Now, this is another side, Port Vale in 23rd, Wycombe in 14th. I've been saying Port Vale have been doing some good football. They did in the first game when they lost to Rotherham, but only for like 45 minutes. Then they started playing some really good football and they started to gain points. But then it just seemed to sort of dull down a bit. Port Vale win, draw, lose, win against Malden Tiptree. Let's face it, they're the lowest. They were the lowest side in the FA Cup, weren't they? I think. And then an away defeat to Bolton. So Bolton 4, Port Vale 0. And 2 goals in each half, which is strange because Port Vale for me have been playing at least 45 minutes good football, and here they seem to be just a little bit behind Bolton all the way through the game. I don't think that Bolton really were ever in doubt with this one. As soon as they kicked the ball, that you could see they were going to be shooting twice as often. You could see they were going to have 2 or 3 times as many shots on target. And their passing was probably, I think that was actually the best passing of the game week. Huge number of passes done. But they built it from the back forward like they usually do. And it was brilliant passing. It was brilliant formation work. It was just cracking to watch from the Bolton side. And you can see why people are starting to think Bolton are going to be a side to contend with as we get to the end of the season. Wycombe Wanderers win, draw, win, draw, win, win. And as you can see, they've turned a corner very nicely. 14th, you see, and they've started to go nicely up to that top end. And they're starting to do a rather go straight up that league. Almost without people noticing that they've done it as well. So I don't think everybody who's doing predictions have noticed that they're doing so well. Like the Peterborough side, all of a sudden they got the new manager has got those players who all the fans are saying, well, it's the players are rubbish. He's not going to get a song out of those players, and he has. And they've started to do some cracking football. And this Wycombe side for me is the same. Wycombe 4, Leyton Orient 0. And I tell you what, it was the precision in front of the goal that got them those 4 goals. 14 shots, 10 on target for Wycombe. Just unbelievable percentages. Nearly every single shot they did was on target. Only 3 of them were off target. So 10 on target, 1 blocked, which was on target as well. So you're thinking this side is just singing so well, isn't it? And sorry about that. And you think, wow, that's just an amazing ratio. Orient, though, 13 shots, 4 on target, 1 in the net. Because, of course, Wycombe, 10 shots on target, 4 in the net. So you're thinking Wycombe really did deserve that. They ran riot here. So Port Vale versus Wycombe. I think that Wycombe are certainly odds-on favourite here. Port Vale, well, they are in 23rd for a reason, but they can play good in parts. They didn't last time. I think that this time they're going to make sure they at least play well for a portion of that game, especially at home, especially with their own crowd there. I think they'll score, but I think it'll be Port Vale 1, Wycombe 3. Please do like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next video. And do give me something to cheer on about. Give me a like, give me a subscribe. I'll see you later.